Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, top 100 financial advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. Today, we need to just do a news rundown. There's a lot of stuff that happened, a lot of stuff that at least stood out to me that we need to quickly discuss. So much so that you can see I have my little pen and my notes here because there are a lot of different areas. Now, there's one area I do want to discuss a lot more about, but I ain't going to do it unless y'all ask me to. So in the comments, when I get to that section, you can let me know what you think in the comments below. But go ahead, like and subscribe, strap in. Let's go ahead and get this done. So first, the most obvious thing, the stock market was up, which is usually a good thing for everybody. The S&P 500 was up 2%, and this again is a solid day. Now, I'm not going to sit here and call this the bottom and the market's going to go up every day from now on. I don't know that. This could very well be what they call a dead cat bounce, where the market plummets and it bounces up, you get one good day, and then things return to normal. I hope that is not the case. However, that thing does happen. It is a thing that happens. But today I will celebrate the market was up. Hooray. Okay. Now, the other thing that happened, there were two other things. Jay Powell did speak today. I think in the previous video, I didn't know if it was going to be today or tomorrow, but he did speak today. So that's out the way. The market during the day did slow down a little bit. Slow down when he started talking, and then ended up being quite positive. And the thing that stood out to me was this. Walmart reported earnings. We did talk about that, and so too did Home Depot. Home Depot said they're fine. They reported their earnings. Things were a little bit stronger than what they expected. Walmart fell by more than 11%, which is one of the worst single-day performances they've seen since 1987. I was not born yet. That says a lot for a company that had at least had basic performance. I'm not going to call it stellar. They were stellar this year up until today, which is again why I don't trade or really do anything around earnings. I mind my business, because if you were to ask me what I think was going to happen, would not have thought that it was going to be down double digits, which is why again I don't predict earnings. I just leave it alone. Okay, this is why. So that's quite shocking. Does it make me feel less confident about Walmart going forward? I'm not entirely sure. This could be an overreaction, which has happened a lot this year. So that one's a question mark. I would really need to go and spend time reading more into what exactly happened to Walmart and why. But even more importantly, you could add, I want to see what Target does and compare notes between those two companies to make a more informed decision. Very similarly with Walmart. I mean, not Walmart, with Home Depot. Because again, Home Depot is like, hey, look, we're okay. I would expect Walmart to also be okay. It's usually the same people spending at both places. But that, for whatever reason, that wasn't the case. So what I want to do is compare notes when Target announces tomorrow, and then feel what I feel and make an analysis at that point in time. So number one, action item for you. If you want me to dig more into Walmart or Target or Home Depot or Lowe's, let me know so I can start to get my notes together and start to analyze. Okay, so let me know which one of those four you're interested in, or which pair are you interested in, whereas Walmart versus Target or Home Depot versus Lowe's. So feel free to let me know that in the comments. Let me know as soon as you can so I can give my notes and start breaking down and researching. It's not something I can just, write on my phone and be done with in a day. Okay, all right. So that's action item number one. But the other thing that was really interesting to me is that we found out what moves Warren Buffett was making. He's required, as with many very wealthy people who owned investment funds, have to report what they're buying, what they're selling, what they're quote unquote reducing. Meaning, let's say I have, $1 billion in this company, I sold half of it. They have to report all that stuff. And while there is a very long and detailed report, which I would like to do a video on what he bought and sold, there were a few things that he sold that interest me. Like, hey, was I right? Was I wrong? Do I agree or disagree? And is there something he knows that I don't know? Now remember that just because any wealthy person, whether it's Elon Musk or Warren Buffett or any other famous investor, just because they do something, that it does not mean that you should automatically copy it. But it might be something that you want to take notes on and compare notes to see what they are seeing. They are not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and we know that because we can trace how well some people have done and how well some have not done. But there are a few stocks that I liked that he sold completely out of. There are some stocks I didn't like that he bought more of. But I want to cover just a few that he sold and why that's interesting to me. All right, so it was reported earlier today that he sold his stake in, I'm sorry, I'm going to say sell or reduced, because right now I just have the stock symbols here. So he sold some, if not all, of Wells Fargo. I never liked Wells Fargo to begin with. The interesting thing is Wells Fargo was one of the few banks that had been doing okay. He ended up buying shares of Citi. We can talk about that in a separate video. And Citi is down, it's one of the worst banks, one of the worst large banks, being down about 34%. Capital One, which is what I own, that one's down about 20 to 25%. Wells Fargo at one point in time, especially like last week when I was looking, was like up by 2%. And he sold what looks like the only bank that was decent this year. Warren Buffett's a legendary investor, so I can't come at him too hard, but it's just real interesting as to why you would buy what seems to be one of the worst banks and then sell the one that had the best profit. I would, if I could sit down with this man and ask him, I would ask. So again, I'm not going to make any decisions off that. It's just interesting. It does ask the question for me to look more into Citibank. Is there something I'm missing, or should I just hold on to what I have in Capital One? These are questions. Next, he sold off, again, either reduced or sold Verizon. I never liked Verizon to begin with. They do constantly pay solid dividends, but it's not a winning stock. Neither is AT&T in my view either. But again, it's just one that's interesting. My question here would be, why you wait so long to get rid of Verizon? So question mark there. He also sold some of Kroger. Kroger is what I would consider a defensive stock. It had done quite well up until the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Now also in context, when you get these reports, I think they call it the F13, if I'm putting my numbers and my letters together correctly, that these are delayed. So he probably did this several weeks ago. But Kroger, up until a few weeks ago, had been doing quite well. If I'm not mistaken, we can fact check this in the comments after this is recorded and uploaded. If I'm not mistaken, Kroger was, again, one of the few companies that was positive on the year up until very, very recently. So I'll double check that, and feel free to check me in the comments on that one. But that, again, interesting. If I'm looking to do well this year, which Berkshire Hathaway is doing well this year, Kroger, getting rid of Kroger is not one of the top things on my mind. So again, very interesting. But then what was most shocking, at least to me, was 2 bio companies, AbbVie, which I've talked about, ABBV, and then Bristol Myers Squibb. Both were good this year and have been one of the few places that have been green. And he sold those. And that to me is somewhat of a red flag, because I'm like, hey, I really like those stocks a lot. Doesn't mean that just because he sold that I'm going to sell or anything like that, but it does make me want to go back and double check. I also own Danaher, which is not doing all that well, but I've had it for quite a while. That symbol is DHR, but we know that healthcare, again, there aren't that many places in the market right now that are doing well. Healthcare was one of them. Healthcare technology was one of them. We talked about insurance, we talked about Berkshire Hathaway in and of itself. We had a few defensive stocks before today. Walmart was one of those places. Not anymore. And there are other utilities and energy. Those are like the few little tiny pockets that have done well. So for him to sell 2 health companies, which in my mind is one of the best places to be, for him to sell out of that completely is odd. I have questions there, so I don't know. His plans and goals are way different than mine, right? So, it is what it is. But it's just interesting, just really interesting on what his moves are and what the rationale may be. Again, I want to emphasize this again. Just because he is doing it does not mean that you have to. It doesn't mean that I have to. And I don't make my decisions based solely on what he does or what any other person does. But I do like to challenge my own beliefs. I don't say, hey, I think I'm right all the time. I like to see what other people are doing, see how they think about things, compare my own notes, and make a decision on my own. So I just think it's quite interesting. Again, will it change my investment decision? Probably not, but will it make me research something and ask harder questions about myself and what these companies are doing or not doing? Yeah, it's going to do that. I think that's a solid thing. So what I want to do, and again, it's the second call to action for y'all today, is if you want a video on what he bought and sold and kind of do, not necessarily a full deep dive, but at least a, like, hey, here's what he bought, here's what I think, here's what he sold, here's what I think type of video, I am really interested in doing that. So you let me know if you are down for that as well. So your call to actions: do we want to do a comparison between Walmart and Target and or Home Depot and Lowe's? And then, so that's 2 videos if you want those. You tell me, I'm going by votes here. This is y'all channel. Y'all tell me what y'all want, and that's what I'm gonna do. So you tell me if you want that, and or do you want a Buffett video on what he bought and what he sold, and then what we think about it as a channel. So those are your call to actions. Let me know. It should be a lot of comments on this video as we are voting about what the next few videos are going to be. All right, so last thing for the day, if you want to support the channel, then feel free to hit the link below for my book, From Burning to Blueprint, Rebuilding Black Wall Street After a Century of Silence. Juneteenth is around the corner, as well as the 101st anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre, which is my hometown. So feel free to get the book if you have not already. It will teach you more about money. It will teach you a lot more about history. I think in this time, especially what's going on in Buffalo and other places, this will teach you a lot about the history of finance, but also the history of what is going on and what may be going on, and give you a better picture about just the history of the United States, the history of my hometown, and then also how to improve things using finance. All right, that's it for me. Talk to you later. Bye.